do we mean when we talk about women's rights? What are we fighting for? We are all entitled to human rights. These include the right to live free from violence and discrimination, to enjoy the highest attainable standard of physical and mental health, to be educated, to own property, to vote, and to earn equal wage. Across the globe, many women and girls still face discrimination on the basis of sex and gender. According to the Voices of Malaysian Women on Discrimination and Harassment in the Workplace survey undertaken by the Women's Aid Organization WAO, 56% of Malaysian women have experienced at least one form of gender discrimination in the workplace. The survey, based on the insights from 1,010 Malaysian women, sought to understand the prevalence of and women's experiences with workplace harassment and discrimination. For many years, women's rights movements have fought hard to address this inequality, campaigning to change laws or taking to the streets to demand their rights are respected. Besides, new movements have flourished in the digital age, such as the #MeToo campaign, which highlights the prevalence of gender-based violence and sexual harassment. Assalamualaikum and hi everyone, I am Nursa Svalena binti Muhammad Arif. So today, I would like to persuade every one of you here to start fighting and stand up for women's rights, because if not, it will continue to create huge barriers for many women. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you how a woman's rights is being violated. Firstly, gender-based violence. Gender-based violence is when violent acts are committed against women and LGBTI people on the basis of their orientation, gender, identity, or sex characteristics. Women and girls in conflict are especially at risk from violence, and throughout history, sexual violence has been used as a weapon of war. For example, some research have documented how many women who fled attacks from Boko Haram in Nigeria have been subjected to sexual violence and raped by Nigerian military. Hence, violence against women is a major human rights violation. Secondly, workplace discrimination. One way of illustrating this is to look at the gender pay gap. Equal pay for the same work is a human right, but time and again, women are denied access to a fair and equal wage. Based on Amnesty International, recent figures show that women currently earn roughly 77% of what men earn for the same work. This leads to a lifetime of financial disparity for women, prevents them from fully exercising independence, and means an increased risk of poverty in later life. Thirdly, sexual violence and harassment. Sexual harassment means any unwelcome sexual behavior. This could be physical conduct and advances, demanding or requesting sexual favors, or using inappropriate sexual language. For example, sexual violence is when someone is physically sexually assaulted. Although men and boys can also be victims of sexual violence, it is women and girls who are overwhelmingly affected. Now that you know the problem of women's rights, surely there are several ways to improve women's rights. Firstly, Sexual Harassment Act. One key feature of the Sexual Harassment Act is that it would introduce a specialized sexual harassment tribunal. This tribunal would allow victims to seek redress without going through a lengthy, costly process. According to the YouGov survey, the top places where sexual harassment happens are public places, followed by offices, public transportation, and schools or universities. This is why we need a comprehensive Sexual Harassment Act. Secondly, protections against discrimination in the workplace. Currently, private sector employees are not protected from gender discrimination, where a critical gap given that gender discrimination is rampant in the workplace. For example, A WHO survey shows that over 40% of pregnant women surveyed had faced discrimination in the workplace, where they were made redundant, denied promotions, placed on prolonged probations, demoted and terminated. Additionally, there have been cases where hotels had banned frontline staff from wearing a hijab. Hence, these protection landmark provisions would have provided victims of discrimination an avenue for redress. Lastly, Gender Equality Act. The Gender Equality Act would comprehensively protect women from discrimination that not just in the workplace, but in various sectors. It would also mandate the government to take proactive steps to accelerate gender equality. All of us must ensure that they are not derailed if we are to create a world where women can thrive and flourish. Well, why is it important to stand up for women's rights? Here it is. Most importantly, women's rights are human rights. It might seem like an obvious point, but we cannot have a free and equal society until everyone is free and equal. Until women enjoy the same rights as men, this inequality is everyone's problem. Next, protecting women's rights makes the world a better place. According to the UN, gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls is not just a goal in itself, but a key to sustainable development, economic growth, and peace and security. Research has shown this to be the case whether society gets better for everyone when women's rights are upheld and taken seriously. Last but not least, we are stronger when we work together. Although grassroots movements have done so much to effect change, when everyone comes together to support women's rights, we can be so much stronger. By working alongside individual activists and campaigners on the ground, as well as running our own targeted campaigns, movements such as Amnesty International can form a formidable vanguard in the fight for women's rights. As a conclusion, women's rights have become better, but there are still some issues. There is no doubt that the Sexual Harassment Act, Gender Equality Act, and protection against discrimination in the workplace is the most powerful solutions to help women's rights. To say the least, there are still forms of gender inequality happening in nooks and crannies of the world. The real difficulty is now upon us to eradicate these existing forms of discrimination towards women. We will never be truly equal until the day arrives in which every single woman, be it a stay-at-home mom, a striving female politician, or simply a young female teen on earth, is rightfully allowed to stand as tall as men are in society's platforms and arenas. I think that's all from me. Thank you and goodbye.